Chapter 2, Omelette in a Carton. It was noon on a Sunday in 1981. My family ate breakfast at midday after church. Jesus, my stomach was grumbling. I had changed out of my church clothes and into my play clothes. I slid my chair under the table. The floor was a dirty yellow linoleum, and the walls were covered in some sort of Yankee pattern of butter churns and old barns, also in a brownish yellow. Nearly every room in the house had wallpaper those days. My father made his way downstairs from bed. He was rocking a very lived-in whitish t-shirt and a case of high swirling bedhead. My father was working nights those days, so he was exempt from having to go to church. He waved at my mother, which seemed strange since they were in the same room. She poured the orange juice.
"I want French toast," I said.
"No French toast today, buddy," my mother said.
Okay then. What are we having? Scrambled eggs?
"No, we're going to try something new today. Your father has been wanting to try this."
It isn't something from the Navy, is it?
My mother laughed, spooning instant coffee crystals into a cup for Dad. He had served in the United States Navy before I was born, and as such, had spent some time in the Caribbean, in Europe. He liked to tell us children about the exotic dishes he'd tasted. Things he was sure we might try someday. Things from somewhere else. Things like veal parmesan. French stuff. And I don't mean French toast and French fries. He liked to brag that he had eaten brains. "Brains and eggs," he said.
Ew.
"Not too bad. A little rich for everyday eating," he said. I looked at my mother. The moment had arrived. What would our breakfast be?
Will it be brains and eggs?
Never. I'll never cook brains for you kids. You can bank on that.
So what are we having?
We're going to eat omelets. I'm not sure why she said this with such gravity. She may as well have said brains for what it's worth. Omelette. Was that one of those egg pies? No, brothers and sisters, that was quiche. Sounded great. Yes. Anyway, I enjoyed all the egg dishes I'd eaten in that kitchen up until then. The scrambled, the fried, over easy, soft boiled with skinny little toast soldiers. I called them dippin' eggs. I was fully confident that this dish my father described as cheese-filled scrambled eggs would be stupendous.
Nothing to be frightened of,
I told myself. No one was telling me I had to eat bell peppers or mealy sliced tomatoes. I even offered to help. I wanted to expedite this meal so I could experience this food called omelette.
"I'll get the eggs out, Mom."
That's okay. We don't need it. I was puzzled, of course. My father had informed us at one time or another that the French were the world's greatest cooks, and that the rest of the world was still catching up. This was the early 80s, and words like crudité, petit four, and brioche began to invade the American lexicon. I understood these Frenchmen were miracle workers in the kitchen, but it was unclear to me how they might make this omelette without any eggs. She gestured with the black plastic spatula at a carton sitting there on the countertop. "Easy omelette," it read. Perhaps there was something I was missing. Someone scrambled some eggs and dumped them in a carton. What the hell gives? So this French omelet wizard decided to pre-scramble some eggs and then pasteurize this mixture and mix in some dehydrated onions and some herbs and maybe some milk. Or some hydrogenated oil. Everyone can use a little hydrogenated oil. So the plastic spatula in my mother's hand was the spatula to be used for the nonstick pan. Everyone in the household had been lectured about the fact that no metal was to ever, and I mean ever, touch the surface of this futuristic pan. You barely had to use any margarine because of nonstick technology.
"When we migrate to the space station, I'll bring the Teflon omelet pan."
My mother melted a small amount of margarine into the pan. She then handed the spatula to my father. "This is your thing," she said. I looked at her face and she seemed unhappy. Once the pan was coated, my father poured out half the carton of omelet mix into the pan. Wow! This really was easy. My father laid the slices of American cheese into the eggs as delicately as you might drape a blanket upon a newborn baby. I don't want mine too cheesy, Mother said.
I don't want mine too cheesy either, I said.
Mine either, said my sister across the table. Okay, my dad said. Then something hit my nose. It was a smell, one of those that's permanently etched on my memory. Rich, creamy, if creamy could be a smell, and maybe a little bit rotten, the way it smells when you first discover a dead mouse in your outdoor shed. Slightly sweet, musty, and thoroughly repugnant. This omelet in a carton had a bit of that sweetness. If something smells like this, how the hell will it taste? That creamy, sweet steam in that room was too much for this little preteen boy. I kicked my sister under the table and then I gagged slightly. This was simply too much. I felt betrayed. How could two parents, so proud of the son they were raising, subject this same child to this type of olfactory torture? How could they? I am excited, Dad said. And when it got sat in front of me with a slice of toast on the side, I went after the toast with some vigor. I already was steeling myself for the work ahead.
It doesn't smell like eggs.
My mom looked at me in the most loving way. You can see that it's eggs. It's eggs!
Then where does that smell come from?
Smell? I'm finding this smell to be amazing. Yeah, Dad piped in. This is a treat. My tongue lolled out.
It smells like feet when Dad comes home from work.
This was when I pinched my nose. I had to stop that odor from being in my brain. My mother grabbed the carton and read the ingredient list. She set the carton down and faced me. Well, there is a tiny bit of onion powder in there, for flavor.
A gross flavor. For sure it's gross.
She took her first bite of her omelet. I don't know what you're talking about. This is flipping delicious.
You know I absolutely hate onions.
Even onion powder, she said.
Especially onion powder. How could you?
How could you, parents of the world? How could you feed your beloved children such stuff? While we were at school, while we were in bed, there you were, plotting all of this out. I gagged. I gagged again. There was nowhere else for this food to go but down. I wasted nearly all my milk and orange juice attempting to force down the first few nearly microscopic bites. More juice, I said. That's a shitty way to ask. To be fair, there wasn't enough milk and orange juice in front of me to force this stuff back. It smelled like cat litter milkshakes. How could you? What did we do?
What did we do?
What did we do? You're like mad at us for no reason. Eat your brunch.
What is brunch?
Well, when you eat breakfast at noon, it's what's known as brunch. I never wanted a dog more than I did that day. Under the table, waiting for a scrap. Most dogs would probably eat this.